Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our two new friends, Nick Henry and Mike Burton of London Gothic. We're here to break down everything in between with this awesome book. But first and foremost, guys, welcome to the stream. How are you guys all doing?
Brilliant. Thanks for having us on,
great. Yeah,
absolutely. Before we break into too much of London Gothic, let's start with the basics and begin with who you guys are and how you got into creating comics.
I'll let Mike go first. He's much more interesting than me.
I don't know about that. So I'm Mike Burton. I've been into comics since I was born. Basically, my dad was a massive comic book collector, so I grew up around them. He had 12,000 comic books in the house at any one time, so it's like living in a comic book library.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually created his own comic book, just a little small thing, when he was a teenager, and I grew up with that, so I started creating little comics in school and selling them at dinner and things like that. So and so I sort of got started. Then I went into graphic design, and then I did some freelancing, and then pivoted back into comic books when I met Nick and we started working on London Gothic.
That's right, yeah. And I've never written anything in my life until this. And I had this crazy idea. I've been having it since I was a kid. I was just a mad horror film freak, you know, and not really comics or graphic novels. And I just had this idea, and these characters they grew over time, and in the end, my wife said to me, "Look, you're not getting any younger. You better get this story out there." So that's what I decided to do, and then luckily met up with Mike, who is on the same sort of weird, warped mind wavelength, and then we just gelled really well, and we've taken it from there.
So you've had the story in you since you were a kid. Oh my god.
Yeah. I didn't have a very good upbringing, I think.
This story gets very graphic, very gory, and man, there is some darkness in this thing, man. What was some of your inspiration in coming up with the idea for it?
Well, basically, when I was young, I mean, I'm no spring chicken like you guys. So, I was born in London, in the depths of the city, which was quite sort of slums, really, in London at that time in the 70s. And when we was kids, we had nothing to do, nothing at all. We would just run feral. And at that time, London in the 70s was quite a derelict place. There was none of this, what you've got now, big buildings and lots of investment and things like that. It was real cobbled streets, and you still went out at night. And we used to run riot at night, even when we was kids. And you'd have the mist on the floors, and we'd go down to the bridges, Tower Bridge, London Bridge, Westminster. And there's all on the Thames, on the banks of the Thames. We used to go down there, and there's all these great big sewer outlets. So my friends used to dare me. I was a bit, I don't know, I'm not right in the head. So they used to say, go in the sewer outlets and see what's in there. And I'd make out, I wasn't scared. I'd go in there and pretend there was monsters in there, and they'd all, packing their pants and running away. But I used to have these crazy ideas, and I used to think, wouldn't it be great if there was a monster in there, And these are the days before Stephen King's It and things like that, where it's all based in the sewers. And I was brought up as well. My sister was mad on horror. She was a lot older than me. She's mad on horror, and her and her friends used to watch these horror films. And I'd be, 7, 8, and I'd be sitting there on video. They had videos of them, and I'd be sitting there watching them, thinking, "This is bloody great. I love this." Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Exorcist. At 8. So I think it just developed my warped mind, and then that's what went on. And all
that was unleashed it on the world.
Over the years, I used to develop these characters in my head. I mean, one of the first ones that I came up with, funny enough, was the Sandman, and this was, sort of turn of 80s, before Neil Gaiman had brought the Sandman out. But my Sandman was totally different. He was he was a horrible thing with a skin mask and crawl across the buildings and things like that, at night. And so these characters all developed, and over the years I've had kids, and to get them to sleep, if they were being naughty, I'd say, look, the Sandman's coming to get you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So my kids have grown up exactly being what I call London Gothic-fied. They loved it. So, and one of them said to me, you really got to write this, Dad, because there's all these characters that you've got going on in this weird crap up here, and you just got to get the story. It's got to flow and put it down on paper. And my wife used to say it, and in the end, over time, I started to develop this. Basically, it was a start and an ending, and I thought, right, okay, well, let's let the thing flow. And I just sat there, and like I said, I've never written anything in my life. I'm a great believer in that the devil made me do it, and I'm just typing what he tells me in my head, because I just wrote this thing and it went out there, and I found Mike on an Upwork website, looking for an illustrator. That's another story in itself, and he was on the same wavelength as me, and he loved it, and he just went, I've got to do this, and away we went.
So Mike, with I know in the past you said you worked on smaller things, with this kind of being, I mean, this is like what, 92 pages, I think. How was this as like your first big project, like doing this amount of work compared to the smaller stories you were used to?
It was daunting. It was because I mean I did I did everything. So I did like the penciling, the inking, the colouring, and the lettering. So I didn't do we got a guest artist to do the covers, which was nice. But yeah, so it's a lot of work, but it's also really rewarding, because it's like when it comes to obviously the visuals are so like Nick's, like it's in Nick's head, and he knows what he wants. And to begin with, we had a bit of back and forth. So like I'd do like the sketches and then send them, and they say, well, can you change this and this? But then as time went on, it kind of like we just fell into a wavelength basically, and like I'd send you stuff and you go, that's great, that's exactly how I imagined it. But it's really rewarding to do something that, because originally we were talking about potentially doing it as just a black and white, just pencils and inks. And then as we started to develop the characters and the story started to come together, I think we both just thought, we've got to do it full colour. It's just, particularly with like horror as well. If you're trying to, you can do it with just pencils and inks, and it can be quite realistic, but we wanted it to be very realistic, because you've got the fantastical elements, you've got like demons and magic and things like that. So we wanted to make it look as grounded as possible, so that you buy into it as you're reading through it. So, but yeah, it's been an amazing experience, and it continues to be so, because I'm deep into chapter 2 now.
I know you guys said it was a story on how you two met. Feel free to give us a little bit of that story if you want. We're all interested in how you two met.
I'll let Mike tell it. Yeah. Well, Mike's good at it.
Well, interestingly, like just before we went into lockdown, I got made redundant, because I'd taken a job as a graphic designer. I'd done a bit of freelancing, comic book stuff and illustration before, but I'd taken this job, and then I got made redundant just before the lockdown. And so I thought, well, I'll go back to freelancing, and that's the only reason why I was on the site. And I think it was like in the first week or something like that was on there, and I saw the post from Nick, and it was quite sparse with information. He was keeping it quite closely guarded, his idea, but he was asking for artists, and he put like a pitch on. They said, can you do a panel of Jack the Ripper fighting a demon? And Jack the Ripper's not in the story, but he wanted something along that same sort of line, so he could get an idea of what we could do. And when I read more of the synopsis, I thought, it's horror, it's Victorian era, because I love the Victorian era. I've never had the chance to do anything. I thought, I'm having this job. So instead of doing a panel, I did a whole page and made it into a little story almost. So it was like Jack the Ripper fighting a demon, and then on like the second to last panel, the demon's got his claws like on his face, and the one below it, it's a woman with a hand on his face, and she's saying like "thank you." And so the idea was in my head, it was just this little story, like, oh, well, maybe these people were possessed, and he was, something like that. And Nick obviously liked it because I think you kind of gave me a job on the spot, didn't you?
Yeah.
But really, I just cheated. I just did more work for free than anyone else did. So,
he was bloody cheap. That's what it was.
I love how Nick, that you were able to tie in a lot of your experiences. The sewers, and then how you were talking about the Sandman having a mask. One of the most like villainous creatures in the story like wears a mask. So I thought that was really interesting as well. Can you give us a little bit more about the story and what people can expect to find within the chapter 1 of London Gothic? And by the way, here is a link to pre-order, order the book as well. You have the option to get the digital and the physical on the storefront.
You do, and also there's an option there if you wanted a signed copy as well. There you go.
Yeah, that thing is gorgeous.
The cover is spot
get a
UV.
light on it. There we go.
Anti-scratch laminate, spot UV, big thick pages, beautiful, great big book. Go and buy it now, quick.
I really like that cover too. How like the image is like, you know what I mean? It looks like a different like what's the word I'm looking for? Like texture almost. Like how the rest of it looks matted, and then that little center looks shiny.
Yeah, well, that was part of it because I come from a print background, funny enough. So when we was deciding how we were going to bring it out, I said really would be nice if we could have some of it spot UV that just subtly pops out at you. Mm-hmm. So that if people are looking at it on a shelf or at a Comic Con, it's just a little bit different. And yeah, it's more expensive, but when people are paying their hard-earned cash for these books nowadays, we want to give them everything we can. It's not about profit for us; it's about getting a story out. That's what it is. And
it's sort of like the profit margin on it's like tiny because the print quality, the paper quality is like it's well beyond what you'd normally get from a comic book. It's like really thick pages. It's like it's because it's a very dark comic book. We wanted to make sure the pages were really thick, didn't we? So that the print quality was as good as it could be.
Yeah. You don't want to read it and then. This thing's best read by sort of like under your sheets with a torch,
like gas lamp, candlelight.
You
might not want to be under the sheets with a gas lamp.
Yeah, we don't condone that. Yeah, don't. Yeah.
But so you don't want any show through on the pages, and we pushed the boat out quite well. We've set ourselves a target now because we've got to do the same for the next 3 chapters. So by the time that happens, I'll have to sell my house and my soul to the devil and probably my body to science if they want it.
So give us a little bit about what it's about. A little bit of what readers can expect to find within the first chapter.
So it's a story, it takes the element of good and evil. You've got the good guys and you've got a demonic order. And it's been going on for thousands of years. And they're basically fighting over some holy relics that have this unknown power. No one really knows what they can do. So the Tutori, who are the good guys, are an offshoot from the Knights Templar. And they are like a secret organisation that was set up to protect these relics, which are hidden all around the world. And then it's been going on for centuries, like I say, 1,000 years. But we move into the Victorian era where there's the Houses of Parliament, and you've got a horrible Lord Phineas Cromwell, he's basically coming as the new leader of the Sinistre, which are the bad guys. And he's trying to put together an army to create chaos, basically, and take the sort of onus off of him while he's searching around the world for these relics. And so, which is what he's doing, and he's great because no one really likes politicians, so we thought we'd throw one in there.
So, Mike, when you initially first got the script to start, designing it, what was your thoughts, like getting that chance to finally read over everything? I know you had, when you first tried out, you didn't really have an idea of what you were getting into, but after you finally kind of got a chance to read that script, what was your first thoughts?
Oh, I was blown away by it. When I read the first one, I thought, at that point, I was like, that's when I think I decided, well, it's good. We've got to do it full color. It needs like the full treatment. This because it does play out like a movie or a TV show, and I think that like one of the major selling parts of it is that like of the story is that it's got this thousands of years of history, and Nick knows exactly what everything that's happened and everything that's even in it. Like you'll read chapter 1, and then if you when you read chapter 2 and chapter 3, you'll realize that just that one small little moment that was in a panel that you didn't even realize was important is, you know, like changes everything, and it recontextualizes it. So as the new scripts came through, because he's written all 4 chapters, going back and then seeing that, and then also on top of that, it draws from a lot of real myths and legends. Like there's characters in there that are based on folklore from hundreds of years ago, and that's really cool to see. Like his interpretations of those stories, because horrendous. Like the things that we used to tell kids to keep them scared is ridiculous. But yeah, and then some even worse. So
definitely.
Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, when I was writing it, I made sure that because my head is a wealth of horror crap. So through the years, I've just digested lots of documentaries, films, readings, places I've been. And if I go somewhere on holiday, it could be somewhere beautiful. I want to know the horrific part of it. You know, I want to know
sitting at Christmas, like, okay.
Yeah.
How can we make this a bloodbath?
We have Krampus on the tree. Yeah, it's like I want to know what's bad about it. So I took all the places when I was writing the 4 chapters. The characters are actual myths and legends, like Mike said, and I've taken them and made them into, say, like a demonic form. That you could believe that they actually existed at this time. And no one would know because the Sinistre and the demons are kept very quiet and underground, and they don't come out in public very often. So they could have been there for real. Who knows? And the places that appear in the book, the different places that appear around the world, are actual real places with nasty histories that I thought, I'll bring that in because that could fit quite well with the story.
Yeah, that adds like a whole different like layer to it almost.
Yeah, it was just, and we research everything, even down to the symbols that we use, the magical symbols, the symbol in London Gothic. There's satanic symbols in there. I mean, I'm lucky enough. My wife's a pagan witch, so she knows all the symbols. So she was great because she would say, you can't have that symbol because that means this, and you can't have that because that's a bit. But if you do this one, that's real magic. That could work. So everything in there, if people read it and they get into it, there's a lot of bits that they could go on the internet and go, oh yeah.
Even with the art, I mean, even down to, I mean, there's a scene in a sewer, and I put some pipes in there, and then I went down a rabbit hole researching how they actually built pipes in the Victorian era to see whether or not metal pipes like that could actually exist. And then I found images of pipes from that era, and I was like, okay, I've got to draw it this way then. It's a bit ridiculous, really. It's at some point, I don't think anyone will ever notice, but I think overall, when you put that much effort into creating the world, I feel like it comes across as like the atmosphere. You don't have to necessarily pick up on everything, but like instinctually, I think you can pick up that,
We used to get so excited, didn't we, when like you'd send me a panel and I'd say, no, that background needs to be like this picture, and we'd go and find it, wouldn't we? And then like of a weekend,
you could have recorded yourself just going dirtier, grungier. It's like every single time. What about dirtier?
You can tell that word's been like embedded in Mike's head. If he hears it like anymore, he's gonna be like, ah.
He didn't need to after a while. I think he got used to me and he knew what I was going to ask, because I used to do it. And funny enough, after about, I don't know, it must have been the first 20, 25 pages, he'd send me stuff and I'd say, that's bang on. That's exactly what is going on up here. You know, that it's really weird.
Which does worry me.
Yeah, too dirty, man. Are you doing all right? Are you all right?
I mean, I've spent most of my profits on therapy, so, but I'm getting there.
What profit?
Yeah.
So I really liked the designs of the demon as well. Mike, can you give me a little bit about like what you looked up and maybe some references that you used to create this thing?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for like the sort of the ordinary demons, we looked into sort of animals, different animals, and taking elements of that. But I think a lot of it was almost trying to do the opposite of what's been done before, but not go too far. So like we didn't want your traditional sort of demons with horns and things like that. And the other thing as well, is particularly with the sort of lesser demons, one of the things that I thought of as an inspiration was, when you sort of see these like videos where people have like captured something, like what's that in the woods sort of thing, and it kind of looks like a human, but or it looks a little bit like an alien. I kind of wanted to do something that was like not generic enough, but like touched on all those different things, so you could think that, well, maybe if someone's seen, like a grey alien, maybe it wasn't. Maybe if they've spotted that in history, actually they were seeing one of these little demons. So I kind of wanted this design that was like, yeah, you could interpret it as many different sort of things. And then with the more specific characters, like Nick just had ideas in his head. Like I do a few different sort of variations on things, and even for the character of Punchinello, who's Punch and Judy. So Punch, we actually changed his design very late on, didn't we? It was he had more of sort of like a jester's mask to begin with, and I'd actually done quite a few of the pages with him, but Nick was like, I really think we need to change it, and he was right. It's it definitely came out a lot better. But you did a lot of research into sort of ancient masks and things like that, didn't you? So lots of research from lots of different places, and of course when he was talking earlier about the places, when Punch is introduced, it's on Poveglia Island, isn't it, which is just off of Venice, and it was a plague island, so it's where they sent all the plague victims just to die, basically. No. Yeah, and they tested the soil recently. You're not allowed on there. I'm not sure why, but no one's allowed on the island. And you can see it from Venice. You can just look over and see it. But there was like a mental asylum on there at one point. But they tested the soil, and it was 50% human ash on this place. And that's wild. Yeah. So, but that was just from all your research doing stuff like that. So, so there's like a Venetian inspiration as well with Punch. And
you say there was a mental hospital over there, though?
Yeah.
That's like the worst. That's like the worst place to put one, I would think, right? Like you're asking for something crazy to happen, like demonic possession or something.
Yeah, there's only 40,000 people died in this, 2 square mile island. So let's put all the.
It's like putting like a daycare on like a Native American burial ground or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just asking.
They're going to make it into a theme park.
Yeah. Oh man.
They'll probably build a Walmart on it.
Yeah. Or you guys have Pound Town, right?
Oh, we have pound shops, so nothing. Yeah.
Or Poundland. We have
Pound
Dollar General. Yeah. We have a Dollar General over here, and I remember I seen a meme where it was like comparing them. So like the one with Poundland, and someone was like, it was a missed opportunity to call this thing Pound Town.
Yeah, definitely. We had one local to where I live called Poundland. And I went in there and there was nothing for £1.
Yeah, that's the best. I just feel offended if you go in and there's one for £2 and you're like, well, that's not right.
Yeah, there's we had to eventually hike our prices up to like $1.25. So there's a lot of people over here like, well, it's not like a Dollar General anymore, and it's like, they're right, kind of.
I should have pushed it out, called it $1.50.
So you guys currently have chapter 1, but you're looking at 4 chapters right now. Are each of those chapters going to be like roughly around 90 pages? Like, how big can we expect these chapters to be?
So chapter 2 will be a little bit longer. I think it maybe an extra 10 pages. Chapter 3 probably about the same, and then I think chapter 4 is looking like maybe about 120 pages. So it's going to be a big finale. But yeah, so yeah, they're all quite hefty tomes.
It's quite a collection.
Yeah.
Are you guys planning on having this be like one big graphic novel at the end, or?
Yeah, either one big graphic novel, or there might be so many pages there won't be enough paper in the world. but we'll either do it like that or just do like a box set with all 4 in it.
So what can you give us a little bit of a taste of what to expect in chapter 2? I know you said things are about to get a lot more darker and sinister. I mean, so what all is going to happen?
Well, you're going to get, if people buy and read chapter 1, they'll get into the story, and they'll see that we've introduced these myths and legends, demonic, like a demonic army being built with, and they're the leaders. We've got some characters to come into it yet that are even more horrific, let's say. Until we get the complete army built, and Lord Phineas Cromwell has his little army there, and then we conclude with what happens after that. I don't want to give too much away, but we've got underlying stories in the first one, because you've read it, but there's the initial story of the relics, trying to find the relics, the Duke and Jellicoe try to keep the demons at bay, which they've done for years and years, and keep them out of the public sight, just keep them contained. You've got missing children, and you've got now a detective in there who's going to start looking for these missing children. So you've got all these stories that run, and eventually they will all come together, and they will all conclude in this epic climax, and everything makes complete sense a lot. But I mean, it makes sense along the way anyway if you just read it. But everything will go, and the reader. We wanted the reader as well to have 2 experiences. One was that they're reading it like they're watching it as a show. So Mike's illustrated it like it is, like you're watching it, say, like a series on Netflix or Amazon or whatever, rather than an initial comic as well. And the other thing is that they can go back, they can read all 4 chapters, but then they can go back because there'll be things that make sense, and then they go, I missed that. That was staring me in the face. And I didn't even see it. And that's where we want to be with it. Which hopefully it'll have that effect.
Well, that is awesome. For everyone watching, right here is the link to buy chapter 1 once again. So Nick, Mike, what's next for you guys on the horizon outside of London Gothic? Is this just it for you? Do you have any other projects in the works?
Retirement.
Well, you've been talking about potentially doing some spin-off origin one-shots. That's something that you've been looking into, haven't you? I've got a few projects that I might like once this is completed. I mean, there's room for potentially London Gothic continuing on after the 4 chapters. That's a possibility. But we did talk about, because I've had a few ideas I've been working on since I was a kid that I'd like to do, and we talked about maybe working a bit together on that afterwards. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes.
That's awesome that you two are going to continue to work together, though, on it. As the power duo. That's awesome. That's awesome. So
with me, Cody.
Before we end things completely, though, let me ask you guys one question in particular, because as much as this is a podcast where we really focus on you and your book, it's a nice little show for anyone who might be new to the industry and might be looking for a little bit of advice. So for anyone out there who is looking to get started within writing or art, but having a hard time getting going, what type of advice would you offer them to help them get motivated just to get started?
As far as writing goes, really, speaking from experience, if you've got an idea, don't leave it, don't let it go and just float away, because it could be something that everyone's been waiting for. You never know. You just don't really know. And if anything, if you write something down, it's good for you. It's something that you leave. It can't be taken away. So when you're long gone, you'll always have that for your children to read or your grand. And you've got to get it out there. You've got to get it done. So I'd say never give up. Always keep going. And don't be like me. Don't put it off too late and then do it later in life. You know, just get it down there and get it written. Mike can talk about the artistry of
Well, I mean, I suppose, I mean, obviously, like, any time you've got, even if you work and you've got 10 minutes, you know, if you're an artist and you want to get better, if you've got 10 minutes in a day, you know, sit down, just bang out 10 minutes. You'll probably end up doing more, but always keep practicing. Because I think the thing is with it is that you've got to, there's luck involved. There's luck involved in getting that opportunity to do like a paying gig and things like that. But when you get that luck, you need to be ready for it. You need to be prepared. So just always be drawing. And the other thing as well is try not to be too much of a perfectionist, because I mean, almost all artists are perfectionists, but at some point, like I'll be working on a page and I could make it 10% better and spend an extra 4 hours on it. But is that worth it for that 10%? You know, so it's like you've got to. It's more important. It doesn't matter how perfect your work is if no one ever sees it, because you never finish it. So, you know, get it out there, and then you'll see what you need to focus on more. So, but yeah, practice every day, even if it's just for a very tiny amount, and then blag your way into a paid gig somehow that you're probably not quite ready for, and then you've got to rise to the challenge because we're stressed. Yeah.
No, that is awesome. I appreciate you two coming on and breaking this down, everyone. I appreciate this, Mike and Nick. Everyone watching, right here is the link once again. If you're unable to buy chapter 1, simply tweeting it out, putting it on Facebook and Twitter. Word of mouth is 100% free, and getting as many eyes in on this as possible helps get the word out farther and farther. So with that being said, it is time for us to wrap up. I hope you all have an awesome Friday day, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.